Ready for a deep dive that's all about diplomacy, adventure, and maybe a little bit of Parisian charm.
Sounds intriguing.
We're tackling Henry James as the Ambassadors this time around.
Ah, classic.
Published in 1903. But trust me, it still resonates today.
It really does.
So, picture this. 1903, you open the North American Review and boom.
There it is. The Ambassadors, serialized, pulling readers in month after month.
Talk about a slow burn of intrigue.
Exactly. Each installment revealing a bit more of Louis Lambert Struthers' journey.
Our protagonist.
Yeah.
And he's about as far from a Parisian bohemian as you can get.
Oh, tell me about it. Struther hails from Woollet, Massachusetts.
Woollet, land of propriety and, well, more propriety.
You've got that right. And the brilliance of James is that he puts us right inside Struther's head.
We're not just observers. We're feeling every awkward encounter, every aha moment.
Precisely. We experience the culture shock as if we'd stepped off the boat ourselves.
Speaking of culture shock, Struther's mission is to rescue young Chad Newsom.
Ah, Chad. The son of Struther's wealthy fiancée, Mrs. Newsom.
And what has Chad gotten himself tangled up in over there in Paris?
Well, the family fears he's fallen for a vulgar adventuress, a term that speaks volumes about the time period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A woman's reputation could make or break a man back then?
Exactly. Social ruin, financial ruin. The stakes were high.
So Struther arrives, ready to play the hero, and whisk Chad back to Woollet.
But there's a twist. Chad's not the hapless youth everyone expects.
Oh, he's not pining away for dear old Woollet.
Not one bit. He's transformed. Charming, sophisticated, entangled with the intriguing Madame de Vionnet and her equally captivating daughter, Jean.
The allure of Paris. And James's descriptions really transport you there.
Absolutely. The sights, the sounds, the energy practically leap off the page.
But before we get too swept up in the City of Lights, we need to talk about Maria Gastry.
Oh, Maria. She's not just another American in Paris, is she?
Not at all. I'd say she's Struthers and our guide to this new world.
She's brilliant, offering witty commentary, sharp observations, and those insightful comparisons between European and American societies.
She's like that wise friend who helps us see things with fresh eyes.
Exactly. And she nudges Struther and us, the readers, toward a deeper understanding of this whole cultural dance.
It's like James wants us to really think about how we see the world, you know?
Absolutely. And Maria, she's the one pushing us to do that, challenging our assumptions.
Right. But Struther himself, surrounded by this new energy in Paris, he's changing too.
He is. And this is where it gets really interesting. Struther doesn't just loosen up a little, he starts to question everything.
Everything. Like his whole Woollet worldview.
Exactly. That rigid upbringing, it's like he's breaking free from it, but it's unsettling. A liberation he never expected.
It's that classic clash, old world versus new world, and Struther's caught right in the middle.
Precisely. On one hand, you've got Paris, right? Centuries of art, beauty, a certain, what's the word?
A certain je ne sais quoi.
There you go. And then you have America, still young, ambitious, with that strong moral compass.
But James doesn't make it that simple, does he? He doesn't just say, Paris, good, Woollet, bad.
Not at all. That's what makes him so brilliant. He shows us the complexities. Paris is alluring, yes, but there's ambiguity there, shadows. It's a stark contrast to the black and white morality of Struther's Woollet.
No easy answers, right?
Yeah.
Just like with Struther's role as the ambassador, he's not just going from place to place, it's more than that.
Exactly. It's this emotional and cultural tightrope walk.
Trying to mediate Chad's situation, but also caught between what he's supposed to do and what he's starting to feel himself.
You've got it. That's the core of the mediation theme. It's everywhere in the novel. Struther's juggling his duty to others.
With this newfound sense of freedom, and as readers, we're feeling that tension too. Every page, you're like, what's Struther going to do?
Right, but it's not just about the plot, is it? There's this mystery woven throughout the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's what keeps you hooked. It's like James wanted to keep us on our toes, even with the book itself.
He did love his literary gamesmanship.
Because I heard there's something strange about how The Ambassadors was actually put out there for people to read.
Oh, there is. It's a real head-scratcher for literary types. 2 whole chapters.
No way. What happened?
Published out of order in different editions.
Get out. Seriously. Was that James messing with us, or was that just like a printing snafu back in the day?
That is the million-dollar question. Some people think James did it on purpose, maybe as a way to reflect how Struther's sense of time gets all jumbled up in Paris.
Interesting.
But others think it was just a mistake, you know? Stuff gets lost in translation or in printing, especially back then.
Makes you wonder what else might have gotten mixed up in those days.
Right.
Now, while we're on the topic of mysteries, there's that whole thing with the object. What is it that Struther keeps thinking about? The thing that's supposed to be so much better if it comes from Woollett.
Ah, yes. The little nameless object. One of the biggest mysteries James left us with.
It's driving me crazy. Just tell me what it is.
If only it were that simple. He never actually says.
Ugh, that's such a tease.
Could be a toothpick, a button hook. Some people even think it's a really well-made match.
A match? Really?
Hey, he describes it as the real thing, something that just can't be replicated anywhere else.
So it represents that limited worldview, the one Struther's trying so hard to break free from.
Exactly. It's like this tiny symbol of everything he thinks he knows, everything Woollett represents.
And as Struther experiences more of the world, that little object probably starts to seem pretty insignificant.
Exactly. It highlights that contrast between the life he's always known and the life he's discovering in Paris.
Makes you think. We all have our own little nameless objects, don't we? Those things we cling to even when we're venturing into the unknown.
That's a really interesting thought. We should all ask ourselves, what are our little nameless objects?
Right. But mysteries aside, The Ambassadors has definitely left its mark on literature.
Without a doubt. It's been adapted for stage, for film.
And it's inspired other writers too, right?
Absolutely. You can see its influence in Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley, for example.
There's that exploration of identity, the desire for something more, the allure of just reinventing yourself.
Exactly. It's timeless.
And it all comes back to those questions, right? About personal growth, about how we see other cultures. Does Struther find that balance between the old and the new?
That's the big question, isn't it? And just like life, James doesn't give us a neat and tidy answer.
He leaves us hanging after all that.
He leaves us thinking, wondering if Struther ultimately chooses to embrace this newfound freedom, or if he retreats back to the familiar comfort of Woollett, and what that choice means for him.
So it's really about the journey, isn't it? Figuring out who we are along the way.
Exactly. And whether true fulfillment comes from embracing those new experiences, or if it's about staying true to our roots.
Wow. It sounds like The Ambassadors is more than just a story. It's an invitation to look inward, to challenge our perspectives, to maybe even book a trip to Paris.
Perhaps.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another deep dive completed. And if this conversation has inspired you to pick up Henry James of The Ambassadors, you won't be disappointed. Until next time.